Welcome back, everyone. Well, as part of our Look Who Cares series, I'm joined today by one of the owners of Look Media, Antoinette Jackson. And if you can say Jesse Jackson and Antoinette Jackson, then you don't have to be a genius to figure out that this is my better half as well. Welcome, Antoinette.
Thank you, Jess.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
This is a little funny. We're talking like we're on television. I know. You selected Wellspring. Now, Maggie Fronk, the executive director of Wellspring, has been on here many times. Why did you select Wellspring?
I have tremendous respect for Maggie and the mission of Wellspring. They bring great value to women and men in need, in crisis. The mission is to work with sexual violence and domestic violence. So I'm really in awe of the initiatives and the programs they put forth to help women and people get through a very tough crisis.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. You know, one other question here. You know, I've interviewed Maggie Fronk a lot, and as you'll see in the upcoming interview, a wonderful connection with that organization. As a male, I see it a certain way. We're in very changing times. And as a woman, how do you view that? Is there something personal about this?
Well, I think women, maybe over the course of time, have always been a little less strong in terms of being able to speak out with men, but that is really changing. And,
yes.
You know, given the initiatives with education, early education and bullying and preventative education, people and children are going to learn from an early age how to change the whole dynamic moving forward, and I really respect that. Well,
let's face it, we could use that. I love the phrase, changing dynamics. That's fantastic, really it is. Yeah. Well, Antoinette, thank you very much for coming on, and here is our interview with Maggie Fronk. Welcome back, everyone. Well, as you know, over the course of the year, we get involved with a lot of organizations in our community, trying to help them, trying to help raise awareness for them and get you involved. And without a doubt, one of the organizations that we interface a lot with, and every single time I feel like it's the first time we've done it and we need to let people know about it, is an organization in Saratoga called Wellspring. And joining me today is a frequent guest here, Maggie Fronk, who's the executive director. Welcome back, Mag.
Thank you for having me.
Very nice to have you back again. I always like to start this way. There may be people out there that don't know Wellspring. It's not inherent in the name. Well, it is in a way. But what is Wellspring?
In Saratoga County, we are the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services resource and also provide sexual assault services in Washington County.
Oh, that's an expansion.
It is, yes.
Yeah, right. The last time we were here, Maggie and I were talking about this the last time, that you were considering expanding into Washington County, providing the sexual abuse services. They're very powerful terms: domestic violence, sexual abuse. I want to kind of go into each one just briefly. Domestic violence issues. You hear the term used all the time, male and female, right?
Absolutely.
That's the one thing that always catches me a little bit off guard. Talk about that a little.
Okay, and I think that's because when the domestic violence movement started, it really came out of women concerned about women. But we know over the years that domestic violence happens in every type of relationship. And we know that for a male victim, it can be so hard to come forward and say, I am in this situation. My partner, the man I'm with, the woman I'm with, is abusing me. So it's the same issues of power and control.
You know, those lines are getting blurred more and more all the time. You know, you're thinking, we're not living in the Rockwell world. We're living in a world it's confusing at best at times. And, you see people in relationships, but they could be a male-female relationship. The abuser could be one or the other in a partner. It could be a gay relationship. It could be any number of different connections, right, where for some reason it becomes violent.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. Now, you've seen a lot. And what I mean by that is I asked Maggie, I think the last time you were in, we don't really cover a lot of statistics here, but they field something like 1,400 calls regarding domestic violence. And out of that
That's just our hotline calls.
Yeah, and then you service about 1,000 people a year, right?
Yes. Yes. And I think that surprises most people because these are crimes that happen behind the walls of someone's home. And so often there's stigma and shame that they don't tell even their own closest family members. So I think most people aren't aware of the prevalence of domestic violence in our community or sexual assault.
Sure, and I'll get to the sexual assault part in a second here. But and of course, there's an overlap there too, right?
Yes.
A lot of times, the domestic violence is associated with some kind of sexual assault.
Absolutely.
And I guess vice versa. But when Wellspring goes into action, it could be intervention, right? Which could be, think about it, if it's a domestic violence situation, you got people that can be pretty fired up. So if there's intervention involved, that's a dangerous proposition to start with. And also it can be pretty unpredictable too, right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
And that's one of the things I think people often think of our agency is a crisis agency. I would go to them when I'm in crisis.
Yeah.
And we are absolutely there to help anyone in crisis. But also we're there when you're not in crisis, when the relationship is just feeling uncomfortable, when you're having questions, when it's like, this is happening. Come and talk to us. We can talk about the dynamics of abuse. We can talk about your options. Hopefully prevent that crisis from happening. And you don't have to be thinking about leaving the situation. We have many people with us who are in that relationship but want to know how to be safe in it and want to know how to do whatever they can to keep themselves safe.
Well, you know something, and in either case, in a domestic violence situation or a sexual assault situation, control, right? Remember the times you've been on here, we've talked about control. So that what Maggie's referring to is if it doesn't feel right, if you know that what's happening is wrong, don't wait for it to be a crisis, because Wellspring is able to help not only with the intervention, but if you need shelter, if you need legal advice, if you need housing. Think about the range of these things, that if you're aware that the help is out there, that person can't control you, because you know that you've got options and you're not going to find yourself sitting in a parking lot someplace wondering what your next step is going to be, right?
Absolutely. We even do financial literacy training because having access to money, having economic empowerment can help someone to make choices to be safe. They don't become trapped in an abusive relationship.
Well, this is a time of giving. So, Wellspring needs donations. Recently, Gaffney's, John Baker, a good friend of Maggie's and myself, has sold Gaffney's. I'm sad about that. But did a party, and the proceeds went to Wellspring.
Yes, we were so touched that after 35 years, as John was going out, his final farewell party, Wellspring was the recipient. We couldn't have had a more heartfelt appreciation.
If anybody knows John, you know that's not unusual for John. But I'm just so grateful, like you are. Here's an organization right here in our community serving Saratoga County primarily, but also Washington County in the case of sexual assault, where if it feels wrong, if you know it's wrong, contact Wellspring. And please, if you want to help the organization, make a donation. Well, Merry Christmas to you.
And you too.
It's
Thank
great
you.
to see you, Maggie.
Yes.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.